All right, this time instead of going question by question, I'm going to do the entire writing passage in one video, and I'm going to show you how I go through and how I predict the question as I go. It's very important to know whether your question is testing ideas, grammar, or style, because the different types have different brain parts that we use to solve them. So I will check all of my answers at the end, so if you're watching this, make sure you wait till the end to see if I got anything wrong. It's always possible. In my mind, the writing is the most predictable section, so it's very rare that I get anything wrong, but you never know. So what is this testing? I would look at the answer choices, and I see that one of them is very short, so that's probably going to be a style question, but let's see, maybe there's something more to this. Strolling down a stone path surrounded by Japanese dogwood trees, visitors to the Smithsonian Institution's Hirshhorn Museum and Sculpture Garden might notice hundreds of paper tags gently swaying from the Japanese dogwood trees' branches. Well, we just talked about the dogwood trees, so do we need to say that again? Gently blowing and swaying from the branches of the trees, gently swaying gently from the tree branches. Yeah, it's definitely this. Yeah, we don't need to say that they're paper tags. We just said that. These are all redundancies. This is a great example where kind of just by looking at it right away, I'm pretty sure it's going to be a style question because there's no pronouns, there's no punctuation. It's not really about sentence structure. It's going to be about what is the best way to get this point across. And for the SAT, the best style is keep it short. So with that in mind, unless I can find anything else when I'm reading this sentence, I'm just going to go with the shortest choice, right? So don't second guess yourself. Don't be like, oh, well, we're cutting out important information by saying it's blowing and swaying. No, just, you know the rules of the SAT. This is an obvious choice C. Hopefully I'm right. We'll see at the end. All right. Which choice most effectively establishes one of the main ideas of the passage? Well, let's read the title. Something about a tree. We're talking about the museum. These pieces of paper, okay. So, entitled Wish Tree for Washington, D.C. This exhibit was the brainchild of Yoko Ono, an artist. So, wish trees, seems to be about the trees. Okay. Promote global harmony. See, I'm kind of like half reading here. I don't have time to read the whole passage just for this one question, so I'm just going to kind of half read it and see. Yoko Ono's trees, popular, respect, fair opportunity. So, yeah, it seems that the exhibit is good. So, what are we doing here? These pieces of paper, a favorite installation with Hirshhorn patrons, decorate the trees every year. Okay, I don't need the schedule. I don't think I need it, at least. Which shows me, okay. These pieces of paper are secured to the trees with strong cotton string. Well, I don't care how they're attached. They're exposed to the elements, but they're still, for the most part, no. Paper, though light, bears something truly weighty. The hopes and dreams of museum patrons. Ooh, that seems important. An interactive art, participation of the viewer, could write wishes. Yeah. So I think people are going to pick A here if they get this wrong, but it's definitely D. A is informative, and maybe you personally think that that's valuable information. But the question is giving us a big clue. What is the main idea of this? The idea of a wish is repeated again and again. What is the purpose of this art? They're not telling you so you can go visit it. It's not like an advertisement. It's deeper than that. And choice D is saying something about the interactive nature of the art. And so we can kind of see here, just by highlighting a little bit, right? It's interactive. It's a participation, right? They could write wishes. Showcase the trees, invites visitors to write, attach their own wishes to the branches. They're reflecting, right? It's a collective project. Notice how that repetition comes up again and again and again. The repetition of the idea that the people themselves are paying attention and playing along with this. Cool. Number 3, what could this be testing? Well, my guess is maybe either style or sentence structure, just kind of based on maybe the punctuation is changing and matters. Let's see. For her Wish Tree series. Ooh, okay. Yeah. So we see the punctuation right here. So in order to use a semicolon, we need to have 2 complete sentences. So we don't have that here. For her Wish Tree series, which is perhaps her best known interactive project, we haven't gotten to our sentence. We've just had 2 extra clauses we haven't gotten into the sentence, so we can't use a semicolon there. So that's just a punctuation thing. So this is a grammar question. Perhaps her best known interactive project. Ono was inspired. So right now, B is the front runner for me. It was perhaps her best known interactive project. Okay, yeah, let me do it this way. If this is about punctuation, it's about sentence structure. So right now in my head, I'm looking for the main sentence, the main thing that I can say, like, this is the core sentence and what's being attached to that. So here's the main sentence. Ono was inspired by the temple courtyard she visited as a child in Japan, where people could write wishes on small paper tags and then tie them to trees. That's an extra clause, so that's extra. And this stuff at the beginning is also extra, right? That's why the semicolon doesn't work, because the semicolon requires a complete sentence beforehand, a complete sentence after. So we need to think, well, how are we going to connect this in a way that conveys that that it's an extra clause? So B, perhaps her best known interactive project, is just a nice little positive kind of a description, so it's extra description. C, it was perhaps her best known interactive project. Now we've got a problem. That it was is turning that into a sentence. Now if we kept the semicolon, that might be okay. But notice what's happening here is we're then using a comma to connect. And the comma doesn't work. That's going to create a run-on sentence. So that's wrong too. Now D is something weird. It's using an and so it's now taking the green and connecting it to the stuff before and saying that's also green. That's also a main sentence piece, right? So the main sentence would now be, perhaps her best known interactive project, and Ono was inspired by the temple courtyard she visited as a child in Japan. Hopefully you can hear that we're adding on something that doesn't follow in a way. So we can't do this either. So this is a grammar question, and it really does come down to sentence structure and punctuation. It's a difficult grammar question, but being able to tell that that's what it's testing is probably the first step to being able to solve this difficult question. That way you know, like, okay, I got to pay attention to the rules and how the sentence is constructed. Hard question. Which choice provides the best transition from the first two sentences of the paragraph? Well, what do they say? They say, this is what we did. The issue is inspired by this stuff. Okay. Ono once compared the stunning visual result to white flowers blossoming from afar. She created wish trees, an ongoing project that showcases trees and invites the visitors to write and have their own wishes by encouraging people. Okay. Yeah. Often using everyday items to create her art. I don't think that has anything to do with it, right? What's the transition? They're writing the stuff. They're white flowers blossoming. So it's an ongoing project. It invites the visitors to participate. So this is about participation. So let's see if we can find something about that. I don't care that they're everyday items. Having left Japan for the Second World War, don't care where she's from. To bring this experience to more people. Yeah, it's definitely C, right? It's about the people. It's about getting people involved. 5. By encouraging people to reflect on their aspirations and to attribute to a large collective project. No, definitely contribute. And you don't contribute by something, you contribute to something. This is a style question, even though these are kind of definitions. And the reason is this is more something you probably just hear to be right. And if not, you can't really look this stuff up in a dictionary. Maybe contribute versus attribute, but by and to, those are just the kinds of things that we feel and hear in the English language. So you got to just get more experience with it. 6 over here. Okay. Definitely punctuation. So we definitely need to think about sentence structure again. The exhibits have proved very popular. In fact, more than 1 million wishes have been written over the past 10 years. Okay, so we got 2 sentences here. The exhibits have proved very popular. More than 1 million wishes have been written over the past 10 years. So I'm going to leave the in fact unhighlighted because I don't know where it goes yet, but I know that that green and that yellow are 2 complete sentences. So I need a very strong punctuation mark to connect them. So let's see if we only have commas, we're in trouble. So that would mean, yeah, choice A has only a comma. That's no good. Choice D has only a comma. Now, choice B is very weird because even though it has that dash, we would really never do that to set aside like a transition-y word like in fact. And in this case, it's almost more working like commas. So it's a dash that has some more powers, but it's still functioning in a very comma-like way of setting something aside. C is going to be the answer. The semicolon, it rarely is correct on the SAT. But here, it's just the only thing that works. We need basically to separate these 2 sentences. that's what a semicolon does. And so the exhibits have proved very popular. That's a sentence. In fact, comma, more than 1 million wishes have been written over the past 10 years. So this extra clause is connected to the yellow. It's connected to the second part. And that's how a phrase like in fact normally works, as we would need a comma to kind of attach it to the beginning of a sentence. But normally when the SAT does this, they use a period instead of a semicolon, and they separate the sentences completely. But a semicolon is a period, basically. So you can do this as well. This is why advanced punctuation marks are actually very useful sometimes, is they have set clear rules, and we just need to think about what makes a sentence and what doesn't. 7, pronouns, definitely a grammar question. So I got to think about singulars and plurals. Visitors have filled tags with diverse hopes, ranging from goals for, okay, well, it's is referring to the visitors, so that's plural, so we need something plural, so there is the answer. You got to get that right every time. 8, what is this testing? Okay. Seems to maybe be testing some sort of sentence structure or symmetry. It's not like, it looks like a list. Let's see. In addition to museum installations, Ono has provided instructions for schools, workplaces, and communities that are interested in creating their own wish trees. It's definitely A. It's just a list of things, and we want the list to have a rhythm. So schools, workplaces, communities, that's a rhythm. Any of these others are going to break that up, right? Why would we add in? We don't have anything in front of workplaces, so we shouldn't add anything in front of communities. All this extra stuff is just extra, and this is a great example of, like, it's a grammar question. We need to preserve the symmetry of the sentence, but there's a kind of stylistic component to this as well. It's just like listen for what sounds best. Number 9, the writer wants to add the following sentence to this paragraph, so what's the best placement? A wish tree exhibit at the Museum of Contemporary Art in Sydney, Australia, for instance, used 6 lemon-scented eucalyptus trees which are native to the continent. Well, for instance, stands out, right? This is an example of something, right? It's an example of a particular exhibit of this art. So we want something that's going to set up this example. My guess is it has something to do with something being native or local. So let's see if I can find that now as I read the paragraph. Ono's trees have been shown in museums around the world, with each exhibit featuring tree species, typically indigenous ones, selected to complement the venue. For example, that's definitely here. So it probably fits right here. Let's just see. The exhibits have proved very popular. In fact, more than 1 million visitors have been written over the past 10 years. Visitors have filled tags with diverse hopes, ranging from goals for their families. In addition to museum installations, Ono has provided instructions for schools, workplaces, and communities. Yeah, it's indigenous, and it's going to be an example of the museums that are shown all around the world. It's definitely after sentence 1, and we would want to be careful that we're not breaking up 2 sentences that really need to go together. So does sentence 2 really need to follow 1? Is there something there? No. It's okay for us to put an example in that spot and then go back to the general discussion. So that's an okay thing. Cool. Nice. All right. 10. Which choice most effectively combines the sentences at the underlined portion? So first and foremost, these questions are testing ideas. So we should make sure that when we connect the sentences, we're actually letting the ideas flow together in a meaningful way. It's not about grammar. So let's see what this is about here. Once an exhibit, Once an exhibit, here. The tower was also designed by Ono. Ono's tower is a beam of light that shines each winter from a base carved of stone into the aurora-graced Icelandic night. Okay. So it's just the tower and then what the tower is. Okay. The tower was also an Ono design. Additionally, it is a beam of light. So these are not grammar questions. Now, grammatically, this may seem weird to you, but it's actually correct. We're allowed to join these 2 sentences with a semicolon. However, this is not a good way to let the ideas flow together, because what is a semicolon? It's basically a period. So are we really combining the sentences if we're just swapping a period for something that's basically still a period? This is very, very rarely going to be the correct answer for these kinds of questions. Semicolons, we saw before, they can be right, but it's not going to be a good answer for most of these combined sentences questions. That's usually just a very poor way to connect ideas. Although also an Ono design, the tower is a beam of light. Well, although this is a good example of why this is an ideas question. Why do we need to convey a contrast? It's not a contrast. That's wrong. Ono also designed the tower, and the tower is a beam of light. So you might say that this is redundant because it says tower twice, and that's kind of true. My issue is more the and. Because and the semicolon kind of do the same thing. They connect ideas grammatically, but there's no real meaning between them. There's no flow. There's no real deeper connection. And that's kind of what we're going for. This is an ideas question because it has a literal question at the start. So that's what I'd be thinking about. And let's see. The tower, which Ono also designed, is a beam of light that shines each winter. Yep. It's not repeating tower. It's letting it kind of get that fact across, but it's still flowing together in a nice way. That's definitely the answer. And notice that it's also the shortest choice, because even though these questions are really about ideas, in a way that kind of means they're also about style, because the best way to connect ideas and to let them flow is often the shortest choice. So if you're ever confused on these combined sentences questions, just pick the shortest one. You're probably right. 11, which choice most effectively sets up the quotation at the end of the sentence? Okay, quotation, end of the sentence. So what's the quotation? A dream you dream alone is only a dream. A dream you dream together is reality. So something about togetherness. Radiating symbolically from a well of wishes, the tower is a reminder of Ono's international reputation. Nope, because that's about her. It's not about her, it's about being together. Ono's own wish for world peace. Maybe. Iceland's commitment to green energy. No way. Wish tree's popularity. I think it's... I don't know. Ono's own wish for world peace. Is world peace like being together? Is popularity... Is it about being popular? Because a lot of people are doing it? Ooh, this is tricky. I'm going to follow my dumb summary here. My dumb summary is that this is about being together. And so choice B, world peace, is kind of about that. I am not certain about this. This is definitely one I would come back to with more time. But now that I'm done with the passage, let's take a look at the answers. Well, I got everything right. No issues on really any of the questions. I thought 3 was hard, but I knew I was right about it. The only one I maybe had a little doubt on was number 11, and just goes to show, trust your dumb summaries. Don't overthink things. I noticed what I did at first with this question. I read the quote kind of with blinders on and tried to just let the quote tell me what it wanted to tell me. What's the main point of the quote? Well, it's about togetherness, right? A dream you dream together is reality. So it's being together versus alone. And so with that idea in mind, I'm looking what choice matches with that. And so D, wish tree's popularity, that's not really about being together. That's not about coming together. That's just about something being popular. So lots of people are seeing it, but they're not doing something together. Whereas choice B, the world peace, that has the idea of togetherness, and so it does fit. It feels a little off because it doesn't really come up, I don't think, anywhere else in this passage, this idea of world peace. But it was enough for me to get it because I trusted my dumb summary, I trusted my process, and a lot of times with these goal questions, these idea questions, that's what you need to do. Simplify it, don't overthink it. Remember that your task is not to write the best passage, it is simply to write the passage that they want from you. And so they want something about togetherness, that would have been choice B.